This episode, we're heading to where the rainbow ends. Because we're talking movies, we're talking Eyes Wide Shut, starring Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, Sidney Pollack, inspired by the novel Trauma Novelle by Arthur Schnitzel, written by Frederick Raphael and Stanley Kubrick, who also directed. Chris, of course, it didn't help too much that, most people arrived in limos and you showed up in a taxi.
If the good doctor himself should ever want anything again, anything at all, it needn't be a costume. Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? We're continuing on with our Fuck Romance, Take Off Your Pants series with 1999's Eyes Wide Shut, also the final film of acclaimed filmmaker Stanley Kubrick. Scott, take off your mask and take us away.
Okay, so I'm going to apologize.
Oh, I said take off your mask. You still got your scary mask on.
So I'm going to apologize to our audience from the start because this episode is going to have a lot of rants come out. Listen, I get it. It's a Kubrick film. Everything is hidden. Everything is nuanced. And if you're smart, you're going to get everything.
I am sick of all you guys ganging up on me. You guys all think you're so much better than me.
Oh, Meg, that is the least fancy thing I have ever heard.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
I'm just going to kick off and say, I ain't smart. SMRT.
So it's not actually Fuck Romance, Take Off Your Pants. It's Fuck Romance, Listen to the Rants.
Well, one, I don't think this film should have been in your series because this movie's all about romance.
There's almost no pants. What are you talking about? They definitely have their fucking pants off.
But at no point it's about a man's really obsessive love of his wife that sets him on a path that, he's not her fantasy and he just can't fucking give it up.
Or you could see it that way, or you could also see it as he thinks she did have the affair, and therefore he is trying to kind of like level the playing field or whatever. I did see an interesting quote. It was something along the lines of like a 2.5 hour movie where Tom Cruise fails to get laid. Could be another log line for this film.
True. But before we get into that, this is like the last film that not only Kubrick's last film, but one of the actors that were in this film. It was his last film as well. The actor, he played hooligan number 3 in his first and only speaking role, in which he ad-libbed to Tom Cruise, "The shit I took this morning was taller than you." So RIP to hooligan number 3 because he was never seen or heard from again.
How did you even find that? That was the end of his big acting career, right?
Like 100%. I just made it out. I made it up. But
I thought you actually. Okay, see, I got the cat.
See, but when I heard him say that line, I'm like, ooh, I'm pretty sure this guy never fucking worked again. I was like Tom Cruise, 90, 99, he still had some pull. He was beginning with the pull. That guy never worked again because, you hear that he's, doesn't like people talking about his height.
Wow, Tom Cruise! You look, bigger in the movies.
He does not. He definitely does not. And you think that was all just ad-libbed on his part?
There's no fucking... Yeah, there's no fucking way somebody's going to say that to Cruise.
Yeah, so give us your takeaway on this film.
Yeah, like first I watched this movie when it first came out in theaters.
Really? In 1999?
Yeah, I went and I watched it in theaters. Because I thought, hey, I like movies. Kubrick is a master, and this was one of the first movies of his that I was able to actually go to the theaters and watch at the time.
Sure.
Yeah, I never watched it again until
I made you watch it.
Yeah, until you made me again. but yeah, like I don't know, man. I get it. Like I know everybody's like this is a masterpiece, and
Well, I don't actually. I don't think everybody thinks it's a masterpiece, but okay, let's go with that premise.
but it's creeping up in terms of the Rotten Tomatoes. Every year it goes up and up, right? And people are like, oh, this is an unsung, work and shit like that. But there's so many things that like fucking took me out of this movie that I'm like, I was looking at my phone and I'm like, I can't believe this is fucking 2.5 hours of not even good Tom Cruise like running. He could have ran down New York, all these places, man. He didn't need taxis.
Did he do any? I'm
But
trying. He did. I don't
no,
think he did any
he
running.
walked. He walked. This is the only movie that I know he fucking walked the whole time, right?
You've seen
So,
Tom Cruise run. Now, in his first and last performance, see him walk. Walk, Tom.
but yeah, doing like I do like all the little nods. Like I'll say this, like, is this movie beautiful to watch? Yes. I like the little shout outs
There's
he
a whole
does.
lot of reasons why it's beautiful to watch. Most of them are not just because of the cinematics.
No, it is though. It is. Like I did like all the little tiny shout outs to each one of his films. Um, now I know this is supposedly the final cut of the film. Like he turned this in, died 4 days later, but he never had any input with like the score or anything. Some 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 this is one of I think his only films that have like some CGI in it, which he was not a proponent of. But I guess after he's dead, it doesn't really matter because they had to like blur some shit out so they could get the rated R rating
Yeah, I
instead
think
of
they
the
added two bodies basically at the orgy scene so that it didn't get an R rating in the US.
or NC-17.
NC-17, sorry. Yeah, it had
Yeah.
an R rating. It didn't get an NC-17. Here in Canada, it would have been an R rating. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll say like to me, one of the things
But to
that
me, that doesn't change like the fucking like whether you see PP and VV, it doesn't
no,
change
no, no,
like the
I
two and a
don't.
half hours of this film, right?
Especially after the movie we just watched last week, right? Like,
Yes.
but I think the one
Which, if you want
thing.
to see Old Man Penis, don't forget to check out our episode and hear more about Old Man Penis on Scott Cock.
All right, but the score of this movie, it really, I don't think it meshed with this film, like what I was supposed to be watching, right? Like, I think the score of this film worked a lot better with like The Shining than it does this film. Like, this film should have been
You're talking like that
uh,
heavy piano key, like
yeah,
ding,
like they're trying to give you
ding.
the jump scare. Like
Yeah.
he walks into the room, and then oh, they're all sitting down. Oh, he's walking down the street. There's a guy behind him. Like to me, like it didn't work. Like I think it should have been like it should have flowed with technically the story of this film, where it just goes slow and slowly builds
Mm.
in terms of tension, right? Where I found like yeah, like the only time that like ding dong or whatever the fuck it was worked was when the scene where he goes up back to the house, looks at the camera, and then that old fucking scary man just hands him the thing. Like the minute that guy got out of the car and it focused on him, that should have been like you're like, holy fuck, it's the tall man from shit. Like that would have worked, but the rest of the time it just threw me out. And then I just want to say this too before we
Yeah,
get
yeah,
into
yeah. Go ahead.
that sailor guy, like 100% looks like Aaron Eckhart, right? I'm like fucking Two-Face is fucking giving it. Like the whole time I'm like, oh, is this like one of his first roles? And then I found out it's like some
It's
guy,
totally different actor.
yeah. And then that guy I think is like a real estate agent or something now, like Gabe Gabbo or something like
Well,
that.
listen, man, after you basically do like porn with Nicole Kidman, that's when you fucking mic drop. You're like, I'm done. Like, because what else am I going to do? I am never going to surpass this shit.
Obama out.
Especially like Nicole Kidman, like at that time period, like just like statuesque gorgeous. She's a very attractive woman. I actually really like her as an actor, but like she is fucking.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Wasn't there wasn't it around this time last year where you're like, fuck Nicole Kidman for that I Love Lucy movie?
That doesn't. Because I don't like her in every role, and I didn't think she was the right casting for that role. I can't like her work in
Wait,
general,
but I don't.
and I can't
If
find her
we're able,
attractive in
wait,
1999.
no. If we're able to like intersect, like I could have sworn you said like she should give up on her career, like she should just stop acting, and now you're like, she's an amazing actress.
Okay, so there's no way I told her to like give up on her career, but I did not love that performance.
You suck.
Also, I believe we were talking about around what Golden Globes or Oscars, or like, it wouldn't have been Golden Globes, but it would have been award season. And I was like, this is not great work. Why are we giving all these accolades to this? I hate when that happens, when people are like, oh, I know that name, they should totally get an award. To your topic, our conversation about scoring. I do understand what you're saying. I do think that and it's also very overt. So it's not subtle. Those piano key notes are not subtle. It's like overbearing on the track, which is obviously intentional. The place I do think scoring works, the use of the Chris Isaac track, like, what is it, like She's Been a Bad Girl or something, where Nicole Kidman's just like looking at herself like naked in the mirror, and then Tom Cruise comes out and starts making out with her. I thought that was well done.
Yeah, and that scene is like, I think 90 seconds in the trailer, but it only shows like 10 seconds in the whole movie.
It's actually longer in the trailer.
Yeah.
And at the orgy, like when they come in and he's basically playing on the piano, and it's like that, I think it's like Sikh or Hindu chanting with like gongs and stuff like that. Like,
no, it's Romanian.
Is it Romanian? Okay.
Yeah.
That was fucking cool. Like, that worked there. But I definitely know what you mean. Like, the rest of the film, it's like Kubrick didn't know. I don't want to say he didn't know, but
well, he didn't have a choice in that score.
Yeah. Whoever was doing the score, like, they didn't decide on like what the fucking film was supposed to be, and they're just like, well, this will work, because they tried to make it like a sexual erotic thriller or whatever. And I don't like the aspect of it being turned into like a thriller, because in my opinion, so actually I'm going to use my quote because it's going to lead into what I'm about to talk about. So Mandola Dargis from the LA Weekly says, the price of Kubrick and Raphael's stubborn fidelity to the content, if not the form of the novella, is dangerous. And I think that, like, I don't mind Eyes Wide Shut. I don't think it is his best work, although it is his highest grossing work. There's a bunch of stuff in the novella that I could see working, right? So like the fact that Tom Cruise goes back and he looks for the prostitute and he can't find her. And when there's just a bunch of like running around and stuff that happens in the second part of the film, which is like directly taken from the book or like the novella, but it doesn't work, right? Like, because it's a visual medium. You're kind of like, you have the big orgy scene to me is the like climax. It's the climax. Anyway. And then it just kind of like slides downhill from there. Like, I don't really want to see Tom Cruise running around being like Inspector Poirot trying to investigate shit. Like, it just didn't work for me. It just made the film feel like much longer. Like,
yes, and this film is 1999, and I think in one of the scenes he has like a flip phone cell phone, right? Because the wife, like Nicole Kidman, calls him.
Yeah, when he's with the prostitute.
Dominic. So you're saying at no point he could just call 411 and ask for that Nightingale's phone number in Seattle and see if he's okay?
Yeah, he probably could have done that too.
That could have cut an hour. Like, you know, we all do Langford edits. Here's a Vega edit. That would have cut an hour and a half out of that fucking movie.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. Like, also even the scene where he goes to his former patient's, the daughter professes her love, and like yada yada yada. Again, that's in the novella. I don't think it adds anything to this story. Even just like,
I think it's because it never goes back. Like, if she was the one that, you know, sacrificed herself because she's like all into that kinky shit,
Yeah, but she's
right?
not at that. She's not at the party. The reason that's there is because it's taken directly from the book.
No,
Like,
but that's what I'm saying, right? Like to put it in, like there was no callback. The only callback was him.
when he calls back.
Yeah, literally, he calls and then, you know, just hangs up when Buddy picks up. Like I do like the little Easter eggs kind of thing they put in, like the sign to Tom Cruise's office. I wrote it down where it says payment is required after services rendered unless another arrangement has been made in advance. So I'm like, okay, so I'm like, you know, everybody's like, oh, all the signs, you know, that Kubrick puts into this film. I'm like, is that pretty much saying that, you know, the
The
US
moon landing was fake.
yeah, all that shit. It's like, is he pretty much saying that, you know, the US healthcare system is pretty much a whore? It's just a prostitute. It's just there to take your money.
Yeah,
Not
maybe. But as far, again, back to the actual film here. I think that, so if the story is supposed to be that like Tom Cruise is a loving husband and then he thinks that like maybe his wife had an affair, even as early in the film as when he's talking to the two models and they're implying that they want to have a threesome with him. I would have allowed Tom Cruise to like clearly state like thanks but no thanks, and then be called away to go deal with his friend's problem with the prostitute, because then it sets up a more of a like dichotomy. Like Tom Cruise is like obviously like he's turned down the model sex, and then you have him going like, well, fuck this, I'm gonna go, if my wife's done it, I'm gonna go get mine, and you know, having that
yeah.
falter. I wouldn't have left it as ambiguous as they do there.
Yeah, like I get it. That's their whole like we're gonna go where, you know, the rainbow ends. But then he goes gets his costume at the rainbow room. So I'm pretty much assuming those models were just gonna take him to that costume shop anyways. But at no point in
Well, and
that
by
edit.
models, that's what they told him, where they just like Buddy had a fucking banging prostitute up in his bathroom. Where they just more like was this just like
Well, she
rich
was a
man
myth.
party?
Like I think in that newspaper article,
She was a former
she
beauty queen.
yeah, so maybe she used to be a model too, right? But then
No.
after that's
My
done,
my point is that were those women just prostitutes? Like, did he flush out his party with call girls as well? Like, was
well,
Tom Cruise basically just hanging out with sex workers?
oh no, like what I took out of that, everybody that was in that party are the people that are at that house the next day,
Oh, okay. Like
right?
all the like really high end people just like later on that evening rolled out to the
Yeah,
costume party.
like
Gotcha.
I thought I like the way I took it is the doctor's party is the foreplay where, you know, they amp up, they look at each other and stuff like that, and it's where all the old men are like, okay, I'm gonna put on my mask and I'm gonna try to fuck that one, that one, that one.
Mm,
But that's what I took out of it.
maybe. Hey, that's a really possible idea. Uh, that all this aside, there is a really great camera work in this film. You can tell that Kubrick is still very much in love with the Steadicam. If they definitely feel like Steadicam shots versus say dolly shots. Lots of like longer takes, moving through doorways. I do love a good like whip pan and then punching in on either a close up like via zoom. Um, so one of my favorites is actually when Tom Cruise comes in to the orgy, like the ceremony's already ended, and so he's coming in and he's watching, you know, the people like. Actually, one of my favorite scenes in the orgy is the like server who's being used as a table while some old man fucks some woman on his back. Anyway, so Tom Cruise comes in and you see the camera move up and you see the one dude with like a very foreboding Venetian mask on. Then he looks at Tom Cruise, and then we punch in really, really hard, and it's just like kind of like a stare down, and then he gives like that nod to Tom Cruise. I think that camera work is just stunning and powerful.
Yeah. That brings me, since we're talking about that, do you want to know the real reason they found him out at that party?
Go ahead.
It was not the taxi, right? Because hey, a limo could break down and you got to show up, right?
Okay, go ahead.
It's, you know, first he gets into there, walks around, and literally stands in front of two people. So, and 100% those fuckers are like, who the fuck is this fuck? Right? Like I got here in time. I grabbed these seats, right? Like I showed up, I did my shit. I'm a paying member. Who the fuck is this fuck just standing in front of me?
I know exactly the scene you're talking about too.
And they're like,
I thought the same thing. The two guys that are sitting there just like, what the fuck, man? Hey, down in front.
Yeah. And that's why. That's why, because literally that's when the foreboding guy with the Venetian mask comes in and he's looking at him like,
hey,
he looks at the other. He's like, what the fuck's this guy doing? Like, does he know like orgy etiquette?
Clearly, you haven't been here before.
Yeah. And then secondly, Chris, I just want to say, what kind of fucking friend are you? Right? How come when I get arguments with my wife, you don't show up and put me on a night-long odyssey where I gotta wear a cape and mask and end up at orgies? Like, what kind of fucking friend are you?
Listen, man, as Mr. Nightingale said, like I can't tell you about that stuff. I can't. The passwords are secret to those of us in the society, right? So, so it's funny. Actually, speaking of Nightingale, the character Nightingale, that's played by Todd Field. Okay, so you may out there in listener land might be like, why does that name sound familiar? Because he's like the fucking director of Tar, which is up for like a shit ton of Academy Awards. He's also been to the Academy Awards multiple times, both as a director and a screenwriter for In the Bedroom and Little Children. Like, this guy is like a fucking hardcore famous director now.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool. I was like, why does that name sound familiar? And I looked him up. I'm like, holy shit, that's the director of Tar, which is, like I said, at this year's Academy Awards, right? And it also has Sidney Pollack, who was the director-producer of Tootsie, Out of Africa, The Firm, also Academy Award-winning producer and director, just playing like, well, actually, he's probably just kind of playing like a producer-director in Hollywood, except they're in New York.
Yeah, like I was reading some stuff about this movie, and Tom Cruise made a comment about their scene together where, that 13 minutes in that room with the billiards, that I guess it took like a shit long time to actually film that scene because Pollock, being a director, came in and he started telling Kubrick or making suggestions to Kubrick in terms of how to block the shot and stuff like that.
I'm sure Kubrick fucking loved that.
And then he literally, everything, apparently what it says is like everything that like Pollock suggested, Kubrick would get him to do it and then be like, no, go do it this way now. And then be like, and now do you, and then he would do it that way and then make him do it a complete, like he just made him read like
that should teach you to keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like this film, like Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, they had open-ended contracts for this. So they agreed to work on this project until Kubrick technically released them from it. And there was no actual time frame. And they spent so fucking long in the UK because of how long this movie took to film.
It was like a year and a half to film this fucking movie. It holds the Guinness Book of World Records for longest running like production, like in shooting.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah. Their two children acquired English accents because they were there for so long. But yes, it is. It's notched at 400 days was how long the filming of this film took.
Damn. I'm sorry.
With something like 70 or 80 days of straight shooting or something crazy. Like,
yeah, it like that. I don't. It's not the orgy scene, but the scene with the mind fuck scene of Nicole Kidman and the sailor. That was 6 days.
Which realistically, I don't know how you don't shoot that in fucking one day. Like, but I don't even know how it takes one day. Like
I think Kubrick and I like, how long after this movie Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise broke up? Like, how long was it after?
Listen, man, this isn't TMZ. I have no fucking idea about stuff like
that. Because I think like Kubrick was the cause. Because like reading up, like apparently like that scene that took 6 days on a close set that Tom Cruise was not allowed to go. And
so
apparently
basically Kubrick ran 6 days of watching Nicole Kidman get fucked.
And Nicole Kidman, apparently Kubrick told her she could not tell Tom Cruise like what was being filmed either. All he knew was it was the sex scenes and 6 fucking days.
What?
Right. And that's the thing. He was probably the same fucking way. Like, why the fuck is it taking 6 fucking days?
What is going on in there? Like, remember, a shooting day is 12 hours long of shooting. So that's a whole lot of time. Like, because I mean, what is there probably is there a minute? Is there a full 60 seconds throughout the film of those scenes, you figure?
Maybe. Like it's him kissing her and her pulling down her panties. Him.
I love how you can just knock these scenes out. You're just like, oh, and then,
No.
and then, and then.
No and then. No and then. No and then.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie. I like studied him like hardcore because I literally thought it was Aaron Eckhart every time because his face was off to the side. I'm like, is that Aaron Eckhart? Like every fucking time. I'm like, is this his first movie? I'm like, did he go do fucking what was the one with Julia Roberts after?
The one, what do you mean?
That got nominated for Oscar. The one.
Oh, yeah, where she's the fake lawyer.
Yeah, Aaron Brockovich.
Aaron Brockovich, yeah,
because he's in that. I'm like, man,
as a biker.
I'm like, is he all clean shaven? Like, but I totally forgot about that scene too because I always thought the sailor thing was like her little nod to like Top Gun. Like, oh man, when you're in Top Gun and you're wearing
well, I mean, in the novella, it's a Danish soldier is what she's basically fantasizing about. So maybe that was Kubrick's nod to Top Gun. I don't know. Anyway, so do you recommend this film?
Sure. I still think like in terms of what the context of the series is supposed to be, it doesn't fit into it, but I guess it's like, I'm sure they fucking do this in film school because it's Kubrick's last movie, right? And they're just like, whatever you do will never be as good as this. So I'm sure.
I mean, those are still accurate statements. Like, there's a lot of directors that will never be as good at their best as Kubrick at his worst. Actually, before we, kind of start wrapping this up, do you have any favorite Kubrick films? I know you like The Shining, but other than The Shining, I know you didn't love Paths of Glory.
No, I'm trying to think in terms of his.
So you got Spartacus, Lolita.
Spartacus, I like.
Spartacus is fun. Sword and Sandals. Ching, ching.
Yeah, Spartacus, I like. Clockwork Orange, obviously. Full Metal, obviously.
Yeah. Do you like all of Full Metal Jacket, or do you just like the beginning?
No, I like it all. Like, I do like it all because it's one of those things that it has like an awesome crescendo. Like it builds towards it, and when you get there, you're like, holy fuck, right? Yeah. And then you see kind of it's the reverse M. Night Shyamalan where you see it building closer and closer, and like every little like snippet's there for you to watch, right?
Every step you take and every move you make,
he'll be watching you.
Yeah. It also has lines like "sucky sucky, also horny." You got girlfriend in Vietnam?
Yeah. Do you know what is kind of interesting about this film, like Eyes Wide Shut? Originally, he wanted to film it as a comedy.
Yeah, like a sex comedy with
Woody Allen.
Or Steve Martin.
Yeah. And then it went to, I think then they were going to move towards the other married couple of the 90s, which was Baldwin and Basinger.
That would have been a fucking shit show, but anyway.
I don't know.
Or it might have brought some heat to the fire. Listen, though, can we talk about like the women in this film are beautiful. Like, I don't want to say I'm an aficionado of sex workers, but like typically your average like street strolling sex worker is not going to look like that. You know what I mean? Like that is one of the hottest, like Times Square-esque, like, hey baby, you want a good time? Like that chick is fucking, and for $150, man.
Well, 90s, man. Inflation. $150 would have been a lot back then, man.
Shut up and take my money.
He paid more for the fucking costume than he was going to pay for. He was going to pay more just in extra on the costume than he was going to pay for sex with her. Also, the idea that a sex worker is like, don't worry, I don't watch the clock. Get the fuck out of here. She's not gonna just let him like rock her world for fucking 6 hours at $150. That's not how it works.
Well, as you know, I am a bit of a bargain hunter.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they don't stock hookers at the 99-cent store.
The other thing I don't get is that was the most awkward, like, test reveal ever, right?
Since The Room. I definitely have cancer.
Because like, to me, that whole I don't know if that's the book because I've never read the book. If she's like, I'm Bill, and he's like, you're super nice to her, she talks so well, she would have known they didn't fuck.
That's right.
But yeah, she's like, since you were with her last night, her test came back and she has HIV. Which I'm like,
because it kind of implies like you were with her, not like just you were hanging out with her, like because you had sex with her, like blah blah blah. Also, I mean, yeah, I guess it should be, but listen, if you're a fucking medical doctor rolling around in the 90s picking up prostitutes and you're fucking raw dogging them, you got bigger fucking problems, buds. Like, Jesus Christ. I would have cut that whole scene out. Like, that's again in the book. He goes and looks for the hooker and the sex worker and doesn't find them. So they had to like they recreated that scene, but I don't think it does anything for the movie, right?
Yeah,
like,
especially when that looked like that was the only real time he was actually gonna cheat, because he starts undressing that friend for no apparent reason.
And that's the other thing. Okay, so she brings him in, right? And she's doing exactly the assumption is she's also a sex worker. And like she's like standing between him and the table, right? So she is making that sexual tension. And then, he puts his hand on her boob and like da-da-da.
And like, then she starts like almost orgasming.
Well, yeah. And then so while she's kind of going with it, and then she's like, oh, well, maybe I should tell you about dominant. It's like, what's the choice here are you making as an actor? Like, are you like, hey, you should come in. I've heard you're really nice. You should probably sit down. Or, hey, let's bang because that's the job. But like those two things didn't work together.
No, exactly. And that's what I was saying. Like, there's a lot of these things that happen in this film that I'm like, I don't get it. Like, it also just threw me fucking out.
Also, same with like in the beginning when they get to the party, it seems like they get to the party, they go through, they meet Sidney Pollack's character, then they start dancing, or not dancing, they're kind of mingling. And then all of a sudden, Nicole Kidman finishes a glass of champagne, and she's almost like wasted. It doesn't feel
you only
like
see her drink one, right?
Yes,
and then she's like, it's like, oh, I'm American. Oh, do you want to come upstairs? Like, and that was the thing when they have the, because it's the 90s, weed's the hard drug that they gotta take.
Yeah, and he's a doctor, baby.
It causes 100% of marital fights is smoking weed in a bedroom.
Yes.
When she's like, did you fuck those two girls?
it also brings Poltergeist, because remember in Poltergeist, that's what fucking kicks it all off. They smoked that weed and the devil came down.
But what I was gonna say is, she's like, because you saw it in that party, you saw her see him with those two girls.
Correct.
But at no point does it ever even show him acknowledging her dancing with that guy.
Also correct.
But then he was like, oh, what did he want? To fuck me. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Of course he did. I mean, I probably would have said the same thing. I'm like, yeah, of course he did. Look at you. Fucking banging, man. Fucking.
Yeah. And then it's just like, yeah. And then that went off. And that right there is a marriage argument where you're like, I thought I said the right thing. How am I getting in trouble?
So I think the greatest cinematic trick the devil ever pulls in this film, though, is convincing you that Tom Cruise is anywhere close to the same height as Nicole Kidman. Like, I don't know how the fuck they shot that.
No, it fluctuates. They must have had
the fucking camera all over the place, because Nicole Kidman's like 6 foot something and Tom Cruise is like 3 foot something. So I don't know if she was walking around on her knees or whatever. Also,
no, it fluctuates. Like, sometimes she's way taller and sometimes they're close to
the
like bed. when they kiss, they're like he like goes on top of her, kind of like, so it looks like he's kind of taller. But the other thing, like, in my head, like with this film, she was 100% at that orgy. She was one of the people. Yeah, 100%.
No, what the
And that was her letting him know, because she was like, I watched it and you watched me. We made eye contact, because that's how the mask got there. Because there's no way she was fucking that sleepy that a stranger came into the house, put the mask right by her face.
No, I think he like fucking dropped it and she found it in the house and she put it by the Jesus. Man, your mind fucking ran wild. They purposely show her at home like smoking. Actually, and the reason I remember this scene is because I don't like the lighting of it. There's the scene where she's like smoking, and I think it's when she calls and he's talking to the she calls him and he's with the prostitute, and the light shining in, I'm assuming is supposed to be moonlight, but it's too harsh, so it gives more of the impression of like daylight. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's nighttime. Like that lighting just fucked me right up. I'm like, I'm not loving that lighting choice. Also, Tom Cruise's acting in this. Tom Cruise's acting is fine, except when he has to show any like emotion. When he's like supposed to be like concerned, he always has that like Tom Cruise grin on his face. And when he's like, I will tell you everything. I was like, that is like the worst cry face I have ever fucking seen, Tom. I would have preferred you just be more stoic and just come in there and be like, I'll tell you everything, because you are not doing a good job with the crying. Or just think about the 6 days that it took Stanley Kubrick to shoot your wife getting bagged. So that will probably make you cry.
Our producer just said Nicole Kidman is 5'10" and Tom Cruise is 5'7". So yeah. Again, he was wearing high heels, and that's how it worked. They can make up those
Tom
three. He was wearing what are those shoes?
Those lifts.
The 70s.
Oh, like platform shoes.
He was wearing the platform. That's why you never see his feet in this movie. Even when he's walking, you never see the feet.
That's why you didn't see him running.
He couldn't run in the platforms.
All right, man. You got anything else?
No.
I say, like, listen, the orgy scene's cool. I like the way it's shot. There's definitely great camera work and stuff.
Okay.
Go.
Like you said, okay, because you just brought this to mind.
Sorry I didn't bring you to more orgies. I am so sorry.
This guy fucks.
No. When he is blocking the other people's view from the orgy, I think in reality, like, I do get it. Because how are you doing a 69 with those masks on? Like, at what point is it supposed to feel good? Because the two people that he was watching had the masks on, and they were literally 69.
Did they have them maybe pushed up on their forehead or something? Man, you really got into the details on some of these scenes.
Listen, I am a professional.
You are
right?
a professional.
Like, I sit down and I'm in there. Because I know 100% Chris is going to be like, well, I like this pan shot and I like the zoom and I like the vertigo thing.
Let's be honest, Scott.
Like,
all shots are pan shots in your fucking world. And it's not a shot. It is a pan movement of the camera.
Yeah. You were like, I like this close up and this medium close up. I like the dolly and the steady. And I like Tom Cruise's ass when he was walking into the club.
I think if the third act was more like Collateral, this movie would have been fucking sick.
Like, what do you mean?
Oh, just like Tom Cruise walks into the orgy and then he's just like, I'm gonna fucking settle some scores, and then he's like fucking ready, steady, go, and he's got like fucking gun kata going on and stuff. That would have made this movie better. Anyway.
Yeah, but if his mentor was a part of this and his mentor saw his face and then saw him at the club, like, why was he all up? Like, what are you doing? Like, how come it's not like, hey, here's our membership, here's our charter. You have to sign these people. You got to pay these green fees to get in there, right? Like, you can't just walk in. We'll give you the password, right? Because, like, technically, if it's all the high prominent people in fucking New York, right? Like, Tom Cruise is.
But yeah, no. But that shows the difference, actually, though. So Tom Cruise is a very wealthy doctor, but these are like industrialists. These are like, it's basically like an Epstein party, and Tom was not rich enough to be there, so he also wasn't tall enough. So anyway, that's all I got.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com. I think what he fucked up was, he didn't wear the mask the whole time. He put the mask on inside the house.
Yeah, he should have rolled up in it.
But still, it's like he walked in, and it's like they eye him, and they're probably like, that motherfucker. That was so last week's costume. Like, did
he goes in, everybody's dressed like Teletubbies or some shit. He's like, fuck, I definitely stick out in here.
That was like it should. Last week's was the fucking the what was it, the bear or the bunny that was giving the guy head in the shanty. That was their costumes last time, right?
This week's a toga party.
Yeah.
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.